We're going to do a lot of familiar things, but see how using the chair makes the poses, makes the stuff different for you. And I'll give you lots of options too, since we're not used to some of this stuff. So if you're sitting in your chair, you sit up nice and tall. You're welcome to lean against the back, or you might just sit a little bit further forward. Up to you. We'll start the way we always do. Connecting to our surroundings so that we can connect into ourselves. So feel your feet on the floor. When we're seated on the floor, we don't usually have our feet down. So maybe you can trace a little mental outline around the edges of your feet. If you are comfortable with closing your eyes, you can do so. You can choose to soften your gaze. And then reconnect feet to the floor. Just the feeling of your feet to the floor. Moving up the chain of your body, coming up to your hips, your pelvis, your sits bones. And notice how you weight your seat here sitting in a chair. So we do this all day at our desks, and we usually don't pay attention to how we sit. We pay attention when we're doing yoga, but we're usually on the floor. So notice if you lean forward, do you lean back? Do you lean one side more than the other? Start to take some breaths in, breaths that you notice. Pulling the breaths down into the rib cage and feeling the movement of your torso. Really tune in. You might feel that breath moving all the way down into the belly, maybe even all the way down into the pelvis. Let's take a handful of breaths here, just noticing how it feels to be in this position. Getting your body ready to move. They're not there already, slide your hands onto your knees right above your thigh, or right onto your thighs by the kneecaps. And then start to round your spine. Let your back ribs press back towards the chair back. Drop your head. Let's use an inhale here to lift the tailbone and bring your belly, your chest forward. And then once again, rounding back and arching forward. So we're catting, we're cowing, we're moving the spine. And you can let yourself rock on your sits bones a bit if you choose to, if you have space behind you. Maybe even pressing your ribs into the back of your chair if you have a chair back. Squeezing your shoulders back as you come forward. Let's come on into neutral. Walk your elbows down to your knees. Come into a little fold here. And see if you can stay in that neutral place. So you might be your instinct to like start to arch here to try to be long. But can you keep the curves of your spine natural? And then let's stay with elbows on the knees. And then let's start to cat and cow again. Rounding and arching. Breathing into that spot that's about halfway between your collarbones and your belly button. Breathing in. Exhaling and letting that breath go. Good. A couple more times. And when you've completed your next round, fold forward a little deeper. If you're comfortable, drop your fingertips down towards the floor. They can also rest on your legs if that would be better. Or you can just keep your elbows on your knees if that's more comfortable for your body. If your hands do happen to be connected to the floor, try just rocking a little bit of weight into the hands. Your bottom's still on the chair, so you're not going to really go anywhere. You're just bringing yourself a little bit forward. Maybe you get a little deeper into the hip area. And then let's take that right hand, walk it over to touch your left foot. So you're in a little bit of a twist. Maybe you're grabbing your ankle. You can take that left hand, place it up on your knee, press into your knee. So you're twisting a little more. And then let's drop that left hand back down. Walk it over to the right foot, either right on top, next to it, grabbing the ankle. And we'll bring the right hand to rest on the right knee. Pressing into that knee will help you open up to the side. Try to make sure that you're staying long here. You're not rounding or overarching. And then we can drop both hands back to center. Walking hands up to knees. And we're going to come to stand all the way up. So that was just kind of a standard warm up. Thought we could use the chair there. Why not, since we have it? I'm going to turn my chair to the side here. We're going to do some standing stuff. Standing behind the chair back. All right. And so just walk your feet about the width of the chair, width of your hips or so. You can place your hands just down on the back of the chair. And we'll start by shifting the weight to the front of the feet, lifting the heels up, and then dropping the heels back down. So doing a little rock here, rocking forward, rising up. Dropping down, maybe you rock back towards your heels for just a moment and then start again. So we know these as calf raises. Do them all the time in my classes. They're not the world's most glamorous set of movements, but they really serve what is above and what is below the calf. So your ankles always need some strength, mobility, and your knees. For these last several rounds here, if you'd like to ramp it up a little bit, take your right foot, just lift it up off the floor, and keep that going. All of a sudden, we just added a bunch of weight to your calf raises. So it might feel a little more herky-jerky. Maybe you don't come as high. Maybe your pauses are a little less. All right. Lift it up one last time here on this side. And then slowly set the heel down. If you had that right foot lifted, we're going to set it back down, but bring it over towards the left side of your mat. All right? Stepping onto that right foot, let's start to just gently swing the left leg. Now you need to be over far enough so you don't kick your chair. You can always readjust and move yourself over a bit if you need to. And then once you get it going, you can let that leg really swing. And if it any point you're like, I don't need to hang on, you're always welcome to do that. Just watch your arms. I like to have my hand down because then I can really get into moving the leg. Now let's start to slow the leg down here. So it's almost back to stillness. Right hand down on the back of the chair. Start to press the leg slowly back behind you, dip your chest forward. And just come forward a little bit, all right? And then bring it forward and up. Leg coming forward. So we're swinging that leg, we're taking it slow though, and we're letting the upper body come forward as the leg comes back. Just do this maybe 2 more times. We'll get into this a little bit later and explore a Warrior 3 a little bit later in class. Good. When you've completed that last round, we'll step it on back to 2 feet and walk it back to center. Coming back to lifting, lowering the heels. Back to that glamorous set of movements. As you lift up, can you take a little pause, maybe a second, 2 seconds, and then come back down. So this time we're going to lift our other foot. I believe it's the left foot. If you already lifted the left foot, then lift the other one. And let's come back to that single-footed raising of the heel. You can always challenge yourself to let go if you want to, but it's there to catch you. One last time, up and back down. Stepping your feet down, walking them off to the right, just enough. So you can start that swing here. Right leg this time, swinging forward and back. And then let's really get it going. Swinging a little more. Always think of my son doing his little kid soccer. They always do this to warm up. They swing that leg around. It's so funny. Everybody's always falling over. They need a chair to hold on to. Let's slow that swinging down here. Get it under control. Bring a hand back to the chair back if you've lost it. And then with some control, press the right heel back. Dip your chest forward. And then come all the way up. You can bring the leg forward a little bit here. And then we go back into it. You want to think of keeping yourself like a long diagonal line. At least when that leg is going back. Not so much when the leg is going forward. So we don't want to let the chest get too low. And we don't want to let the leg get too high. We want to stay in that long line. So if you happen to be doing weightlifting, this would be called doing a deadlift. Same thing. Yoga, we call it Warrior 3. And let's go for one more kickback here. And then set the foot down. Walk your feet back behind your chair. Grab a hold of the chair back. Take a step or 2 back. And let your chest dip down, pressing your hips back behind you. And you might find you need to readjust your feet. Maybe they need to go further back. Find that elongation all the way through the hands, the fingers, and then all the way back through the hips, the sits bones. Good. Let's walk the feet forward, lifting the upper body up. And we're going to walk around, sit in the front of the chair. I'm going to stay sideways here because I think it'll just be easier to understand what I'm doing. You guys do what you need to do. So this time we need to sit right at the front of the chair. Make sure you're solidly on there, but just make sure you're not tempted to slump all the way back and sit back. And then find that neutral set of curves in your spine. Shoulders down away from the ears. We're going to lift the arms up, bring them straight out in front of us here, like we've got that sleepwalking thing going on. And then go ahead and make little loose fists here like you're hanging onto a bar. This kind of reminds me of like you're water skiing or something. Okay. And from here we're going to add in some movements here. We're going to do some shoulder, some core stuff. So we want to keep the arms parallel to the floor, just like we have them now. But we're going to let our back ribs press back, rounding your spine, dropping your head. It's like you're trying to press the ribs into the back of the chair. Maybe they even touch. Good. Now we'll lift the arms. We're going to keep them straight. Lift them just a couple of inches, like we're trying to bring them in line with our ears. And then sit all the way up tall, arms reaching up overhead. Last little bit here to this pattern we're going to build. Pull our imaginary bar down to our chest, and now let your spine really arch. Pull your shoulders back. And then we'll go back to our starting position. Pressing the arms straight forward. Back to water skiing. Rounding. Arms still pressing forward, knuckles pressing forward. Lift the arms just a couple of inches and start to sit up straight. Knuckles will be pointing up to the sky once you get there. Pull that bar down to your chest, big arch here. Bring those shoulder blades as close together as you can. And then back to neutral, reach forward. All right, so that's our pattern. We're going to do that a couple of times. Rounding. Little lift of the arms. Sitting up. And pulling it down the arch. This is where you get to add your breath in. Try inhaling as you round here in our first step. Exhaling as you lift the arms. Inhaling as you sit all the way up. Exhaling to bring the bar down. Okay. Let's do that pattern one more time. Any breath you want to do. Taking it slow is the hard part. It's easy to go real fast. When you've reached that end point, you can bring your hands down to your knees. Drop your chin down towards your throat. Keeping your head hanging so gently here. Lift the shoulders up towards the ears. Hike them up as high as you can. And then press them down. Lifting your chin here, raising your head up a little bit. And then just give a couple rolls to the shoulders. All right. Next one here. This time, instead of sitting up tall in our chair, we're going to be still kind of on the front of the chair. Get as far front forward as you can without falling off. And then we'll let our spines just round and kind of slump back into the chair. This is nice. Okay. So, and when you round it in, if you feel like you could scooch forward a little further, go for it. Just make sure you're nice and solid on the chair. And then when you slumped back in, notice if it made a bit of an arch in your back. And if that's the case, you want to really draw the ribs back into the chair. All right? Like you're lifting your tailbone up and rounding your lower back. And you want to keep it that way the whole time. Okay. From here, we're going to move our legs. All right? Start with one leg, doesn't matter which one. Lift it up, bring it in towards the chest. And then set it down. Simple as that. Go to the next leg. Lift it up. Set it down. All the while, we'll just keep moving side to side. We want to keep that rounding. And we want to keep our back ribs pressing into the back. And if this is feeling like you could do this for days, then I have another option for you. When both feet are touching the floor, walk your feet out as far as you want. They can be all the way straight if you want. Get that rounding going again in the back and start again, lifting knee and extending. We do this on the floor quite a bit. This is kind of like doing like Pavana Muktasana when we're laying on the floor. It's like we're trying to get our forehead to touch our knee. Probably not going to get there. This one sneaks up on you. More moments. The next time you bring that left leg in towards you, let's hold it. Notice if you just kind of tipped all your weight to one side, can you even out your weight on your bottom? Keep that rounding in the lower back. And try to take a breath or two. Great, let's extend that leg back out. You know we've got to draw the other knee in, pull it in. Settle into this hold. Imagine that you're trying to draw your two hip points together to touch in the center of your belly. Really fire up those lower abdominals, those deep, deep abdominals. Good, let's drop that leg all the way back down. Walk your feet in a little bit if you had your legs extended, sitting up tall. Take your arms back behind you. You can hang on to like the back of the chair or the chair legs even. And let's press belly, chest forward. Big arch here. Broadening your chest, opening up the fronts of the shoulders here. And then coming on back to center. Standing all the way up, walking around to the back of the chair again. More leg fun here. So, this time around, we're going to get a little mobility going for those hips. So let's bring our hands onto the back of the chair. You want to walk your feet back a couple of steps. The further back you go, the more intense this starts to get. So maybe start, I don't know, just check it out, see how it feels. You can always adjust your stance here. And let's just start with our down dog. So this is a version of down dog. Pressing the hips back, reaching the arms forward. And let's lift the head up just a little bit here, leaning some more weight into the hands. You might need to take like a step forward. Let's lift the left foot up like you're trying to bring your heel towards your bottom. And we're going to start to circle that knee around. So again, it might serve you to be a little bit closer to the chair if you feel like you're really reaching. You want to be able to lean some weight into the chair back. Even really pressing down into the back of the chair can help fire up some engagement all through the legs and the core. See if you can really get that knee up and out. Let's circle the other direction and see how that changes things. Don't be afraid to shift around on your standing leg. This doesn't have to only be about the hip. It can be about other parts that are helping out. One more time. Great, take that left leg, step it forward, maybe like half a foot in front of your other foot. And we're gonna put our weight onto that left foot and lift the right leg out behind you. So again, we're finding that kind of diagonal line with your body. If you'd like to go a little further in, you might need to step back a bit. You can lower your chest down, your face down towards the chair, lifting the leg up. You can always kind of improvise this too. Hanging on to anything that feels stable. So doing this version of warrior, when you have something to hang on to, maybe you can work on that back leg. A little straighter. You're pressing your heel into someone's hand or into the wall. Good. All right, use your upper body, use your hands to help lift you up. Coming back to 2 feet. Having a moment here. Breath in through the nose. Letting breath go. We'll walk the feet back a couple steps. We're going to go into the hip circle on the other side. So you might have a better idea of where your feet need to be. So the left leg is going to be the standing leg. We're going to lift the right foot up. And then we'll start those circles. Fire hydrants. Whatever you like to call them. I'm having some very interesting pops in my hip. Ooh, those are a little distracting. And And then let's circle the other direction. Remember, don't be afraid to press down into that chair. This is why we need it to be on a very solid surface so it does not fly away from you. Okay, we're going to take that right foot, step it down, maybe a half a foot in front of the left. Shifting your weight now all into that right foot, lifting the left leg out behind you. You can walk your hands down the chair back, or just move yourself somehow. Start to concentrate on lifting the back leg up and straightening out the back knee. Maybe your standing foot, maybe you need to weight it differently. Like more weight in the heel or more weight in the center. Remove that element of balance and see what a strong, challenging pose that Warrior 3 is. We already knew it was pretty strong and challenging. Different way. Right. So we're going to start to lift ourselves back up. Bring your feet to the floor. And standing all the way up. You can drop your arms down by your sides for a moment. Let's reach the arms forward, bring them all the way up. And big reach for the sky. No need a chair here to just stand and to reach, to connect to the floor and to reach for the ceiling. Let's drop the hands all the way down back to the back of the chair. And step your left foot forward. Step it like as close to the chair as you can get it. Like my foot's like halfway under the chair. We're going to take that right foot, step it back, come into a lunge. Be good, solid, medium-sized lunge, maybe even kind of a big lunge. So center your upper body right over your legs. I've got my fingertips down on the chair. You may or may not need to do that. Start to slightly bend the back knee. So now you've got both of your knees bent. Little tuck of your tailbone. And then we're going to pulse it up and down. Lowering down, straight down. And pressing back up. And this is where hanging on might make things different. Because we do this, you know, in our normal, we do this in our Saturday classes a lot. But if you're hanging on, maybe you can explore going a little lower than you usually would. That front knee, can you keep it tracking in the direction of the toes? One more time, down, because if you're going low, you're probably feeling this. And then back up. Taking your back heel, spinning it down to the floor. Straightening out your front leg here if it's still bent. Now I've got my left hand on the chair back, and I'm just going to reach the right arm up. And I'm going to allow myself, you can stay here, but I'm going to allow myself to slide my bottom hand down the chair and reach. And maybe that top arm perhaps reaches overhead, over ear. Now I'm leaning a bunch into my bottom arm. That is a luxury I don't usually get to have. I can't usually get my arm up overhead. It's like way too much in a normal triangle. And let's draw the arm back up, bringing the whole upper body upright. Pivot ourselves back, facing the chair, and just we're going to start to change our feet. So step that back foot forward, step that left foot back, and when you're ready, find just that little bend to the back knee, just to start, just to get yourself set up. I'm always saying, tuck your tailbone a little bit, maybe squeeze the left side of your bum, because you often get a nice little stretch through the front of that back leg. And then we'll start up and down, down and up. Think about how your legs are working to move you. And is there anything, any part of your legs that could pitch in here? Is something coming along for the ride that could do a little bit of extra help? Make this maybe a little smoother. One more time down, take your time. When you're back up, we'll slide the back foot down and straighten out that front leg. Back heels down, front leg straight. Start to lift the, what is that? It's a left arm as you tilt your body off to the right. Like to stretch a little more, you can take the arm up, the top arm a little further, reaching it overhead. And really you can stop anywhere along that line. Last moment here, take a nice deep breath into the left side of the lungs, the left side of the ribs, rib cage. And then let's use an inhale to come all the way up. Pivot your back set up toes to face forward. And we'll step it forward. Good. Let's place hands on the back of the chair. Walk your feet back. Now let's come into downward dog. Let's lift the head up. First, walk your feet closer towards your chair. I'm just going to move my chair towards the back of the mat and come around to the front of it. We're going to come back to our downward dog, only we're going to do so going a little bit lower, a little bit deeper. You can bend forward, place the tips of your fingers on the seat of your chair and just test out, make sure it's solid. If that feels comfortable, you can press your palms down into the chair, put a little more weight into it. And so this is more like a forward fold, right? If you're feeling like it would be okay to do so, take a big step back with your feet. And then shift your weight back towards your feet. So now we're in much more of a down dog type shape. Your feet can really go back even further if you're comfortable with that. Just make sure you're really pressing your weight back towards your feet and not leaning it into your hands, because then you're kind of going more towards a plank. Right. From here, we're going to bend our knees and start to send them all the way down to the floor. Sitting your hips back towards your heels. Hands are still here on the chair bottom. Lowering your head down a little bit, like we're in a child's pose. Same idea, just our head's a bit lifted. This might even be more comfortable if you're someone that gets dizzy when your head goes down low. And just be really mindful about how low you sink your chest between your arms, because that can get quite intense. So there's nothing wrong with pressing a little bit into the arms, not letting the chest dip down too much. Let's let our breath migrate to the back of the body. Breath's inflating the back ribs and the armpits, side body. And then we can lift the head up a bit, drop the hands down to the floor. And we'll come on down. We're going to lay all the way down on our backs. So I'm going to keep the chair right in front of me here. We're going to do my absolute favorite thing to do using the chair. So let's just start by lying all the way down. For now, I'm going to have my feet on the floor, just under the chair, wherever you've got them is fine. Let's bring the arms down near your sides and press into the feet, lift the hips up. Couple of bridges here, lifting up and lowering down. We do these all the time. Bridge is one of those pretty frequent set of movements or yoga poses. So we're going to use the chair to change it up. This will be our last active movement of the day here. So if you're ready to give this a try, I'm going to migrate my feet up to the chair. You might need to wiggle your bottom a little closer. Now I have my feet on the chair, but really I just have the backs of my heels. My soles of my feet aren't really going to touch down, and that's to be expected. Bring your arms down by your sides, walk them just a little bit away from your sides, and then get strong through the back of your body, pressing down into the backs of the arms and gluing the shoulder blades to the floor. Now press down through the backs of your heels. Start to lift your hips up, lifting into your bridge. Go just as high as you want to go, and then lower it back down. So that's what we do here. We lift, we lower. This is a fantastic strengthener for knees. You're really getting in deep into the hamstrings. I've been doing yoga a long time. bridge may not be getting you there. Not that it's bad to be doing it. This is definitely going to fire up some things we don't always get to fire up. A couple more rounds. Hang in there if it's getting a little shaky. Let this next one be our last one. So make it feel great. And then lower it all down. Lift one leg up and just give it a bit of a shake. And then you can set that one down, let the other leg shake out. Lower that foot down. And now we get to start to wind things down. So heels are still kind of perched on the chair. Let your knees just gently sway side to side. A little bit of windshield wiper. You can let your lower back or your hips kind of twist around here with this. And the next time your knees fall to the left, let's let them stay here for a moment. Let's take the knees over to the right. Encouraging your breath to just start settling. And then take the knees to center. So as we move into our moments of relaxation, we already have our legs up on a chair, and if that feels comfortable, you can leave them there. Maybe shift around a little bit. So if you're someone who likes legs up the wall, this is another option, just like that. But if it's not for you, just drop your feet, your legs down to the floor. Find your best place to be. In kind of an unconventional position, one you don't normally get to enjoy. And just start to notice where you're connected to the floor. If your body feels weighted in a comfortable way, or does it need something else? Allow your eyes to close. Your breath to soften. Taking as many cycles of breath as you need to slow it down. To move toward what feels like a natural rhythm. Letting that rhythm just seep into you. next breath in through your nose. And letting your breath go with a little soft sigh. Starting to find some small movements. Some little shifts. Slowly inviting some awareness back. When you're ready to make these movements bigger, find your bigger stretches. Eventually bringing yourself over to one side. Pausing there for a last few mindful breaths. Whenever you're ready, using your top hand to help press you back up to seated. It's just you and me left. So on your inhale, let's reach the palms up overhead. Bring them together at the top of the breath. And exhaling to bring your hands to your heart, bowing your head to the light you're carrying within you. I thank you for being here, for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful evening ahead of you. Namaste.